games. We are going to let's see. Since the last time I spoke to you guys, it's been a few weeks. What we are doing is I'm going to take you through some of the updates that we made. They are in red. I was thoughtful about this, so I made them easy to see. And then we're going to jump into a to-do list, which isn't very long, but is, how do we say, laborious maybe? I don't know. You'll see when we get there. So we didn't really touch any of the early stuff from the last video. That note isn't important. Let's see. Let's get to the meat of what we changed. Let's start here. Let's go to the to-do list. What we had was add meat to the buildings. We were going to do stuff with workers, and we were going to look at some racial or species abilities. So let's go up here. Went too far. Okay, so here are the buildings. We did the... a lot of them are self-explanatory. Like, a mine is a mine. So we're pulling resources. We're adding the idea of if a player has a worker in that building, then you'll actually get to pull in extra resources. But a worker will have to be present to pull full value of resources, or you can maybe upgrade the mine to make it auto run, something like that. And there's a lot of Factorio inspiration in there. But we'll come back to that later. We're not going to work on buildings. I'm just giving you the update for right now of what's going on. The walls, self-explanatory again. Really the only bit of note is we need to come up with some sort of improvement tree for how walls function. Make them out of stronger concrete or some other spacey material, or add armor plating to the outside or something like that, or built-in weapons platforms or something like that. Food. So we had this discussion on food. I'm still not keen on it, but it's kind of important to... It's important to give players something to manage that thematically fits. And it's interesting because the more I work with the idea of feed your people, I understand why it exists in games. I'm understanding more why it exists in games because it's just it's really thematic in terms of what kind of management players have to deal with. But I feel like there are better ways. So that's kind of the premise we're working on. Power is going to be our big one. Just like if you play Factorio, powers, you got to have power to everything. So I haven't fleshed any of the power out yet, but buildings are going to give power. Early on, there are going to be power cells. So because very early game, you're not going to be able to build power buildings necessarily, or maybe you could, but I think thematically it makes more sense to have to build up to it. So power cells are something that they're consumables, but they provide power. Workers. What do we have? Anything of note for workers? Different types of workers. I haven't worked on this in probably 10 days, so I'm a little rusty on what I was thinking at the time. And because I wasn't recording, I was just making notes while I was watching TV. This is what happens. So I hope my notes are good enough. Let's see. What do workers need to do? Oh, okay. So we came up with a basic list of what they need to do. So they need to be able to move goods. They need to be able to pick up goods depending on where they're located. Because of that, actually, as I was thinking about this, so goods will become a point of interest for the bugs. And because of that thought, there's going to have to be like an interest hierarchy for the bugs. So it would probably... Okay, so it'll have to be hidden. This IH will have to be hidden from the players. The palliers. It'll have to be hidden from the players, and it might have to be dynamic. Dynamic meaning it changes from turn to turn. The reason being, this is my goal with the bugs. I don't want to allow players to plan too much. I don't want them to turn this into an equation where oh, okay, I know that on this turn the bugs are probably going to attack, and looking at their hierarchy, they're going to attack a building first. I don't want that to happen. I want there to be some guesswork involved. I want players to make the wrong decision or the wrong choice over 3 different spots. This is a terrible analogy, but it's the one that comes to me. I want them to defend Carentan rather than defend Carentan. Geez, I want them to defend Calais rather than defend the beaches of Normandy. From time to time, I don't want it to be like a you lose the whole thing, but I feel like something I discovered in playing games is min-maxing is great. It's fun. I get it. It's not my style of play, but I know why players do it. I want to put players in a position where they have to deal with their mistakes, because I feel like a great time sink in games is the desire to not make mistakes. I think that's something that's very much missing in games. So that's what we're trying to create here. This coffee, by the way, is awful. I ran out of my regular breakfast blend, and well, I'm drinking my backup coffee, and it's possible it's been sitting in that container for like 2 years. So, yeah, it's bad. It's just, it's like a pumpkin spice thing that isn't good pumpkin spice. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. Occupied a building to make it work. Yeah, we talked about that. Make repairs. Make repairs it seems like a really minor thing. Really minor. Not sure we need this kind of granularity. Granularity. Okay. Right, worker movement. So, on a turn, players will have the option to... How far are we into this thing? 7 minutes. Okay, I've got an interview for the podcast in like 40 minutes, so I gotta stick to the timer here today. Okay. Hey Charles, thanks for the host. What was I talking about? What was I talking about? I was talking about stuff and things and stuff. Oh, worker movement. Okay. So on a turn, all of your workers can move. Like, everybody's going to get an action. The way that we're looking at how you can actually keep track of what workers have done what is workers will start standing up, and when they're used, they'll be placed on their side. Really simple. I can't think of any. I'm sure there are some pitfalls to that approach, but we're not gonna. We'll figure that out in play testing. If a worker needs to move to a different region, that region will have a space. They'll move to that region and get placed on their side. I think actually what we're going to add is we're going to include a space for travelers. So if you're moving, you move into a region, you get there, and then you want to perform an action in that region on the next turn. You can just get placed in that region. Okay, yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll include a space for travelers to act as a separator. But also, let's make note, this is easy to get rid of. This is first to go item if the board gets cluttered. It's kind of like a luxury organizing type deal for the board. Let's see, construction. Oh, right. We're thinking of doing 2-sided tiles. One is a construction is started side, and then one is a construction completed side. Unfortunately, that makes for more unique art. Oh no, I guess you could have. Yeah, no. Okay, let's do this. Doesn't have to be unique art for the being built side. Okay. Racial abilities. So I didn't spend much time on this, as you can see, because this is the entire section. I really feel like this is the kind of thing that I like to leave to Aiden. I don't, mostly because I'm not good at this sort of thing. and I don't know why. I don't. I feel like Aiden will quickly come up with a list of all the different things that we can approach with different abilities, because I think Aiden, tell me if I'm wrong when we watch this, but I feel like Aiden has a default to asymmetry, because it was his idea to do the asymmetry. So I think he's primed to actually come up with a list of various things, whereas I kind of just come up with it as I go along. So it's a slower process. So maybe we get there we get to the same conclusion. We just take longer to get there. So we're not going to go into detail about that now because, well, let's face it, there's not much detail to do. So the to-do list today, how are we doing on time? We're doing, I always look down here, by the way. That's where I'm looking. 11 minutes. Okay. So we got about 15 minutes to go. Okay. Prototype parts, and what are the things we need? What are the things that need to happen on our turn? So, because I'm kind of at a point where there's enough of an outline here that we can actually start building the game, but we need to kind of figure out what a turn is actually going to do. So, let's do that. What happens on a turn? Okay. Now, this isn't like a step-by-step turn construction. This is just an idea of these are all the things that need to happen on a turn. So we can then make sure that these boxes get ticked off when we actually do start building the real turn order. So, we turn that off. Okay. What needs to happen on a turn? Bugs need to evolve. Whoa. Actually, let's not put it like that. Some sort of evolve action. Some sort of evolve action? Let's not overthink this right now. Workers need to do a thing. Okay, so I've got my workers. My workers are all going to do a thing. Am I a separate entity to my workers? Am I like a special character? We're going to go with no. I got to be honest, I'm a little worried. When Nate and I talked about this, whatever it was, 10 days ago, I think there may have been some things we decided on that I have since forgotten. Oops. Yeah, okay. Back to the task at hand. Some sort of evolution action or movement. This is really getting to the part of the design where it's not, I mean, it's harder to make progress. So the first two videos of this, it was just, snap along. And now we've set the constraints for ourselves, and now we have to actually make this work as a functioning thing rather than just kind of this nebulous cloud of idea that's made up of the same elements. It's just not, we don't have that ability at the moment, so we're losing that kind of elasticity. All right, workers need to do an action. Need to do? How about need to take? And this is actually a great sign. When I start jumping back and making typo corrections because I don't want to jump, like I can't think of the next thing. Yeah, usually means we hit the harder part. Sorry, this isn't exactly riveting watching, but it's kind of the reality of design. Okay, let's talk this out. The bugs need to do something. So bugs, okay. Bugs need to do a thing that is not related to evolution. Okay. So the bugs are running around outside the base. The players are doing their stuff inside the base, trying to upgrade their base. Maybe I'm taking the wrong approach. Maybe I'm being too generalized. Sample turn. All right. So Aiden passes me the first player marker. What do I do? When do the bugs go? Oh, is there an initiative track somewhere? Oh, let's do it this way. Initiative. All right, let's do track. Awareness tracks. World tracker, track. Okay. We're gonna throw in an audible here. It needs to go away. Oh boy. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do initiative track. And there was going to be the players or turn order. There can be players, there's going to be bugs, there's going to be world events, maybe. Just thought of that off the top of my head. World events. So here, let me make this stream at least worth your time. This is where I like to use randomness. And here's my theory. When you have randomness applied to a single player, then that player can feel like they're getting screwed, which really isn't what you want to do with randomness. You want randomness to make decisions interesting. And so if you place randomness in world events, or like in Gods of Olympus, we have event tokens that move around the board, players at least have the ability to plan for it. And then you can also say something like, well, I don't want players to know what the random event is. I want it to be purely random. Okay, fine. What I would do in that case is I would pick a spot on the board. So this is how I would do world events. So pick a spot, pick a pot, pick a spot on the board, mark it with random event tile, and following turn reveal. Really? Reveal. So players then have the option to go check out what this random event is going to be. It could be good or bad. This then gets into the whole, racial ability to see random events. To see random before shown. Yeah. So this is what world events are where I like to put in randomness, because it doesn't apply directly to anybody, but it applies to everybody. So at least in some way, shape, or form. They could be on the other side of the map, but that's the nature of random, right? Okay. Initiative track. Getting distracted from what actually needs to happen. Sample turn. Oh, so why is this important? Why do we go on this tangent? When did the bugs take their turn? I don't want bugs to be at the disadvantage, at the turn disadvantage. I don't want it to be at the turn disadvantage. I don't know yet where, actually, I don't know yet where the advantage lies. Okay. Like, as I'm thinking about this, I feel like I should probably start doing like shorter videos where I'm really just tackling one item at a time. I don't know. If you have feelings about that, let me know. If you'd rather watch me struggle through this like I'm doing right now, or if you want to see me kind of just plan ahead and tackle that portion. let me know. Okay. Sample turn, sample turn, sample turn. What's the easiest thing? So it's my turn. I get to move my workers. After I move my workers, I get to take worker actions. Oh, maybe after move workers. So I'm thinking after whether you move a worker or they take an action, you put them on their side. Is that weird to have them taking actions while they're on their side? I mean, it's an aesthetic thing. Is it weird to have workers take actions while they're on their side? Do players just stand them up after actions have been declared? Decal red. Do players just stand them up after actions have been declared? But then this becomes fiddly. Is it or is it not? Don't know. Okay, well, back to the job at hand. Move my workers, take worker actions. I'll have, I can buy, okay, so I've got, let's just say I move my workers, I take my workers, so now I've got some set of resources, I've got some set of, okay, so we've got resources, no, but resources are going to be on the board and they'll be collected. Okay, so let's just call it the build phase next. So I can build / upgrade / something, because threes. Yeah. Okay. Note. What kind of maintenance is there before, during, and after a turn? So, and why are we taking this note? So there are buildings players can build. But the thing is, I have this idea of like cards, and players can pick from those cards. But the thing is, buildings are recipes. It's like Minecraft. It's just if you have A, B, and C, you can build the building. So you don't have to do any maintenance and moving cards around. It's just looking at the recipe and making sure you've got what you need. Okay. So build, upgrade. I mean, there's still maintenance. There's still trackers. There's still bug cards. Yeah, there's. I mean, there are things that we need to know where and when this happens. Hi. Do you want to be on stream? Come here. Guess not. Okay, how are we doing on time? 24 minutes. I suppose I could look at the clock in the bottom right, but I never look at it when I'm starting, and, well, yeah. Focus, Chris, focus, focus, focus. What's interesting is, I think back to when I was working on Gods of Olympus really early on, and these moments of struggle were demonstrated in, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore for the next hour or so. I'm just going to pace around, or I'll do something else or whatever. But now that I'm on stream, it's like, Oh, it's much more. It's much more accountable for not or I feel much more accountable for not actually doing anything. It feels like somebody's sitting there going, "Get on with it." Because I don't feel like I'm quite done, and I feel like there's more in my head that I can squeeze out before I have to. Build, upgrade something. Why does the turn need to be more than that? Because I don't feel like it's interesting enough. Okay, that will be the note. I don't feel like this turnstile. So here's this is my theory, is that games like this have kind of a quick, all right, I've got my 4 workers, I'm going to take my 1 action per worker doing the thing depending on where they happen to be. I do some upgrading, on to the next player. And I feel like that's becoming standard. I feel like the kind of global complaint of, oh, this takes too stinking long, like I don't want to sit around and watch somebody take their turn for 10 minutes. I feel like that's moving in the right direction. I feel like games are really compartmentalizing a lot, at least the games that I'm playing on game nights. What I also feel like is that it's becoming pretty standard about just take an action, move on, take an action, move on, or take an action, next player, take an action, next player, which is great. I love it. But you have to be able to differentiate yourself. And I don't know if... I also don't know if the special sauce has been defined. And as I write this, I think it has. I think the special sauce for this game is actually the evolving bugs. I just don't think I've ever said that out loud. Or maybe I have and I've forgotten, but... I think the other thing we decided is that this is going to be a pure co-op. We might build in a way to actually make this competitive, but I think for now we're going to make this a pure co-op, which means we have to make it difficult. That should be interesting, because punishment versus difficulty is a fine line to walk. I'm gonna have to go check out extra credits and see what they have to say on the matter, because I know they have a couple good videos on what's punishing and what's fun but challenging. Okay. All right. I feel like that's the end. Where did I say? Yeah, let's get rid of that note. I don't feel like this turnstile is interesting enough. It needs something. I just don't know what. So even though this turn order is not the special sauce of the game, I want it to differentiate enough to where people can say, that's an interesting little nugget that I like about this game that I don't get somewhere else. And it's possible that this standard turn order is just the way to go, and I'll add interesting bits somewhere else. But for now, this is what we're gonna go with. Okay. Oh, look, here she is on stream. Hi, kitty. Lindy is her name. All right. All right. This is what we're gonna do. Our to-do list. All right. To-do list. What is it? 226. We need to prototype part list. Honestly, that'll have to be my focus for the next video. I mean, we're quickly coming up to a point where I'm going to have to change camera angles, and we're actually going to start building this thing, and I'll talk my way through building the actual prototype itself. So, Yeah. In more general terms, I can't speak. In more general terms, the my life schedule is calming down a bit, so I will be back on a regular regular stream schedule. For those of you that speak typo, that's stream schedule. So we'll be doing that. I don't foresee anything blocking me from doing 2 or 3 streams this week. Of course, I say that out loud now, and things will come up because that's how life works. But hopefully, we'll be back on a more regularly scheduled program. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.